Hello and welcome to InfinEye Games. We are back at Paradise Hills, driving through the highway in the valley, approaching our little town. I was gone for a couple of days, had some fun with some other videos, and now I'm back. In today's episode, we will be expanding our little town and turning it into a much bigger city. It's still raining from the last episode. But yeah, I got some feedback on the previous episodes. Yeah, I've been feeling it too. The episodes are getting a little too long. So we are gonna drive behind this delivery truck, it seems, and this tractor, which is driving as fast as us. Welcome back to Paradise Hills. And oh, whoa. Where are the cops? You need to be charged with reckless driving, mister. This guy pretty much rammed into us. Rammed his trailer. Forgot that he has a trailer. But yeah, we're about to turn into the main road that'll take us to our city. So in today's episode, we'll be building out another section of the city, and this one is we're finally moving away from the river, and we're moving on to the other side of the roads. So yeah, it should be fun. So today's episode is it's nothing specific really. It's just mostly about expansion and how you should be looking at basically placing different sort of areas of the city, because not every part of your city needs to be beautiful and unique. Some parts of the city are still going to be generic grid based layouts, and that's okay, because once you have everything built up, you'll realize that if every part of town looks unique, it's difficult to take it in, So as we tailgate this apparently donut van, let's jump. We'll jump into the building. Today's episode might be a bit boring for people who already know how to build cities, but obviously it's a process that unfortunately I have to go through, and then we can move into maybe traffic management, which I believe we need to do considering how long we had to wait for a turn. And obviously that's because it's a traffic light that's there in the junction, and I really don't have any sort of bridges or anything built into it. But yeah, I think that we need to take care of traffic at some point of time, and I guess it'll be real soon. I think that'll be the next episode for sure. But yeah, let's jump into the unfortunate grindy parts of of this game, and let's start building. So over the past couple of episodes, the demand for residential has remained high. That means we are going to need more areas. Now that we have this part of town pretty much filled up, I think it's time to sort of branch out and go ahead. And obviously I will be dealing with the traffic. I think it's not the best idea to have a dirt road that comes in here, because of industry. Technically it's always going to have quite a lot of traffic, so definitely cannot leave it as is. So yeah, we might have to have an entry and exit ramp. So this is the other part of town. and we have a railway station here, which we'll also be building. We don't have it right now, but that's the reason why this road comes in, and this will basically turn and you know, basically become part of this city. I also plan on doing some industrial stuff, so I'm just rambling right now. I'm just going through all the plans that I have, so that you guys have a good idea of what I plan to do. But yeah, I mean, let me know what you want to see next. I think next episode is definitely going to be a little bit about traffic management, because we have a pretty good traffic flow, because honestly there's not a lot that we have. I mean, 3000 is just not enough to have traffic problems, but I'm sure we'll start having issues with traffic pretty soon. So we have a road that's coming in, and obviously I'm gonna come in and do it, you know, do a little bit of work on designing this later on. So yeah, this is gonna be pretty straightforward actually. So we're basically going in and building some standard grids here, and yeah, even though it seems like it's a little too boring, a little too vanilla, but the truth is most planned cities will have these grids. And even though on surface, like especially when you don't have anything like any you know, houses or anything built up, it does look a little bit hollow, if I might call it that. But once you start, you know, like you have actually houses, and you have, you know, maybe some parks, and maybe you know, once you start filling it up, it stops looking so barren and so uninspiring. If yeah, I mean, yeah, it won't look as as bad or as empty as it does right now, because so that's the thing about you know, grid patterns. They work really well, but you know, they do leave some things to be desired. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with grids. They're usually the best pattern to go for when you're especially when you're starting out. And yeah, I mean, you can stay away from it if you want. There's no, obviously there's no rule that says that you have to stick with it, so you can definitely go ahead and make your decisions based on what you want out of your city. But you know, I have always felt that it's good to have you know, a part of your city look like it's, I don't know, it's planned. It just adds to it a little bit. Like over here, up until the grid, I basically tried to follow the pattern as much as I could, at least. And then I decided that towards the end, what I'm gonna do is, rather than following the pretty standard pattern that I had been following, I'm gonna just make sure that the curve isn't doing the same thing. And I opened it up to basically have a little bit more width, so to speak. Which, what's gonna happen here is that I'm gonna add you know, a little bit of parks, a little bit of entertainment and stuff like that, which sort of enhances, you know, this part of the city. But then the rest is all going to be unfortunately boring and standard grids. So like I said at the beginning of this episode, that unfortunately this one isn't very interesting, but it's definitely part of the process. And I'm sure no matter how boring it looks right now, when you actually go into sort of view your city once you're done, you will like these grids. But yeah, I wanted to make this, you know, into a train yard. That's what I went for. Wanted to turn it into a train yard, and I'm also gonna go and add in a few railway lines and such. So these are, like, you know, roads that were built to sort of get access to the trains and everything, you know. You have roads that are really close to the railway tracks, so that you can get stuff unloaded, and maybe if some repairs have to be done, you can get direct access to them rather than having to go and get them off of the thing, I suppose. I mean, that's what I went for. I don't know if it works or not, but yeah, I mean that's it. This is like a train yard. Unfortunately I don't have any assets that I can use as a train yard, so I kind of had to rely on what was there in the vanilla game. Just went in and put down some props and stuff, so it looks like it's part of a building. I mean, it doesn't look like it to be very honest, but yeah, because I'm not using a lot of props, I would say, what I don't want to I don't want to put down too many things that look like they're part of not part of the vanilla game. So you have a few buildings here, and basically I turned on prop entry anarchy and tried to put some of them down so that it looks like there was a shed. So here I am just using a couple of buildings that made me feel like they could look like a shed. So I am actually not completely sure what building this one exactly is, but the other one, the elevated one, is the the elevated train station, and I put in again, I don't remember. I recorded it the other day and I don't remember which building exactly I put it in. Maybe you can slow down the video and actually find out which building I picked, but I just wanted it to look like it's like a maintenance sort of an area where maybe an engine or maybe the wagons can come in to be repaired, and the road access basically allows trucks and vehicles to come in, maybe bring in parts, and people, the workers, to directly come in here. But I did most of the work on this building to make it look like a train shed, maybe an engine shed, maybe some wagons. Now it's not it's not long enough to actually store more than maybe one engine or something like that. Now, I didn't think of that too much, but the thing is, the thought process behind it was, it used to be that, and this used to be a shed and maybe a maintenance area for trains, but now it's abandoned. It hasn't been used for years, so I'm just putting down moss and vegetation on the ground to make it look like it's not maintained. Now, like I said, most of the actual sort of prop work that I did was on the shed itself, to make it look like that's a place where you would actually come in and do some work, maybe an ironwork sort of an area. But the left side looks I mean, it still looks like it's a station, but I guess I don't know where I was really going with that building, but overall, when it sort of is viewed as a whole, once everything gets built next to it, I believe it will have the effect that I thought about in my head, and I hope it does. Because if it doesn't, I can always come back in and delete it. And I think that helps with the demands. If you're able to take care of the other resources, like you're able to take care of jobs, you're able to take care of water, electricity, and policing and all of that, people will come in if there is enough interest in the area. So right now what I'm doing is what I talked about towards the beginning of the episode of building this area out, that I wanted this curved area to be like the center of attraction. And I put down some schools. And now I am basically turning this into like the, I don't know, entertainment hub of this of this settlement. So this is the football field, or if you're from America, the soccer field, which was part of the Matchday DLC. And I mean, calling it a DLC, I mean, it is technically a DLC. It basically added, it was free DLC which added this football field where, you know, you have a team and they will play matches every year. You can assign some budget to it, and I think the more budget you assign, the better your city's chances are of winning the match. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how practical it is, but in my head, you might have noticed that it is right next to the elementary as well as the high school. But in my head, the thing is that, you know, elementary and high schools, they'll both only be active during the daytime. So once, you know, schooling is over, and there are a couple of, you know, parks next to it, you know, for the kids to play and everything. So once evening time rolls in, you know, once the sun goes down, that's when this area comes to life with, you know, the market. I put on the winter market, is it called? So that's a unique building, so I put that down, so that sort of becomes, you know, an area of interest again. And then the football field. So whenever there's a match, this is, you know, this is the hubbub of the town. You come here, you watch the match and everything. And considering this is literally facing the main road, it basically draws your attention to it. You're driving down this road, and on the left you see this, you know, gigantic football field. You see, you know, the huge market, and it draws your attention to it. So let's say you were just driving through this road to maybe get to the railway station, which the actual non-abandoned one will come in later on, maybe in the next or the one after that. I don't know. I think next episode will be focused around traffic management, I believe, because I'm guessing this area would add a good, if that area added about 3,000 people, then this will definitely add at least 5,000 is what I'm thinking. So, and also with you know, the interest in this area, the traffic is going to need to be worked on, because right now it's literally a road that sort of curves around. So I would need to take care of traffic, and once I'm done with that, I will move on to actually public transport, because I think that seems like a logical next step. But yeah, for whatever needs to come in the future, we had to add some interest into this area, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Now, I feel like I'm going a little bit overkill with the with the parking, but I mean, it makes sense. Like, this is not just an area that will be visited by the residents, but it's also supposed to be an area where you come in from different, you know, nearby towns and villages, because this is quite advanced for a small town to have a, you know, have a football field. Maybe the land was cheap, and the valley added to the atmosphere, which is why it came here. I don't know. I mean, I don't know any real logic behind city planning. I'm not a city planner myself, just in game. So I don't know why there's a massive football field, but I assume that because it's a small town and it has a massive football field, people would come in from outside, and that will lead to a lot of traffic, which means that we need to take care of it. So yeah, that's what I did, and now I'm just, you know, doing the housekeeping tasks of City Skylines, to just have the pipes, and following that, I'll try to make sure that the electricity reaches everything in a in a tricky way, because there's a lot of gap, and for some reason I just hate the electricity pylons, you know, the electricity poles. I just put down a a windmill which sort of connects both sides, and then I'm going to have to strategically place a few commercial buildings so that the residential and the commercial areas can be sort of joined together. But yeah, that's about it for today's episode. I tried to keep it short. I don't know how successful I was. I think it's still closing in on 20 minutes. this was one of those episodes that wasn't as interesting, considering, it was more of a housekeeping episode. But if you sat through it, thank you so much. But yeah, the next one is going to be interesting because we are going to have to deal with traffic, which is a big menace in this game. But yeah, I'll leave it here. I'll leave you to enjoy the cinematic, and hope to see you next time. Bye for now.